Your brain has no processor, no RAM, no storage chip. It has neurons, and somehow it outperforms every computer ever built at pattern recognition, adaptability, and energy efficiency. Scientists just figured out how to build hardware that works the same way. Not inspired by the brain. Not metaphorically similar. Physically operating on the same principles. Individual molecules storing memory, processing signals, and learning from experience, all in a single structure. This could be the most important computing breakthrough of the century. Or the start of a geopolitical arms race nobody saw coming. Probably both. Let's start with a crisis most people don't know exists. For over 60 years, every computer ever built, every phone, every server, every supercomputer training the AI models reshaping our world, has run on silicon transistors. Tiny switches. Billions of them. Flipping on and off at mind-bending speed. We kept making those switches smaller. That gave us more power, cheaper chips, faster everything. The rule even had a name, Moore's Law, and for half a century it held. But here's where it breaks down. Modern processors pack transistors just a few nanometers wide. A handful of atoms across. At that scale, physics stops cooperating. Electrons tunnel through barriers they're not supposed to cross. Heat spirals. Power consumption spikes. And the factories needed to push silicon one step further cost tens of billions of dollars to build. Meanwhile, AI is exploding in its appetite. Training a single large model can consume millions of kilowatt hours. AI data centers are already straining power grids across 3 continents. Some projections put AI on track to consume a significant slice of global electricity by decade's end. We are barreling toward a wall. And the world's most brilliant scientists know it. That's why what happened in early 2026 matters so much. In early 2026, researchers demonstrated something that fundamentally challenges how we think about computation. A molecular device, not built from silicon transistors, but from individual molecules, that can simultaneously act as a logic gate, a memory unit, and a learning system. All at once. In the same physical structure. Let me explain why that's extraordinary. In every computer you've ever used, memory and processing are separate. The processor calculates. The memory stores. Data moves back and forth between them constantly, billions of times per second. This endless shuttle of information is called the von Neumann bottleneck, and it's one of the core reasons AI hardware burns so much energy. You're not just paying for the computation. You're paying for the traffic. Molecular computing eliminates that traffic. Here's how it works. Certain molecules, when a voltage is applied, reorganize their internal electron distribution. This changes how easily electrons can flow through them. And critically, it remembers that change. Apply a signal repeatedly, and the molecule's behavior shifts. Future signals are processed differently because of past ones. Sound familiar? It should. Because that is almost exactly how synapses in the human brain work. In neuroscience, this is called synaptic plasticity, the mechanism by which neurons strengthen or weaken connections based on experience. It's the physical basis of learning, memory, and intelligence in biological systems. These molecular devices exhibit an analogous behavior, not because researchers programmed it in, but because it emerges from the physics of the material itself. The hardware doesn't just execute instructions. The hardware learns. Researchers demonstrated that arrays of these molecular devices can perform pattern recognition, signal classification, and adaptive responses to data, tasks that normally require powerful neural network processors, using a fraction of the energy. This is what the field calls neuromorphic computing, hardware designed to process information the way biology does, not the way von Neumann architecture does. And for the first time, it has been demonstrated at the molecular scale. Now, molecular electronics is not a new idea. Scientists have theorized about it for decades. But there's a vast difference between a concept that looks good on paper and a demonstrated device that performs real computational tasks. What changed in 2026 is that researchers showed functional molecular arrays, not single molecules in isolation, but networks of them, performing multiple cognitive-like operations simultaneously. Logic, memory, learning, in one material. That convergence is what makes this a genuine breakthrough rather than incremental progress. Compare it to the history of the transistor. When Bell Labs demonstrated the first transistor in 1947, it was a fragile, finicky device that required extraordinary precision to operate. Nobody imagined that within 70 years, we'd fit 50 billion of them on a chip the size of a fingernail. Molecular computing is at that 1947 moment. The physics works. The concept is proven. What remains is the engineering, and engineering, historically, is something humanity is very good at solving when the stakes are high enough. The stakes right now could not be higher. To be clear, this technology is not replacing silicon next year, or probably the year after. The challenges are real. Scale is the first. A few working molecular devices in a lab is a proof of concept. Building billions of them on a chip with consistent, reliable behavior is an entirely different engineering problem. Stability is the second. Molecules are extraordinarily sensitive. Temperature fluctuations, electrical noise, and microscopic surface imperfections can all disrupt electron flow. Commercial hardware demands near-perfect consistency across every single component. Manufacturing is the third. The semiconductor industry has spent 70 years optimizing silicon fabrication. Molecular computing may require entirely new processes, new tools, new factories, new supply chains, to arrange molecules precisely on surfaces and connect them to circuits. Integration is the fourth. Even if molecular devices work beautifully in isolation, they need to communicate with conventional electronics. The likely near-term path is hybrid architectures, molecular devices handling AI inference and adaptive learning, while silicon manages general computation. None of these are insurmountable, but none of them are trivial. The question is not whether molecular computing will work. The question is who will solve it first. And this is where the story stops being just about science. Right now, the global AI race is largely a contest over who controls the most powerful chips. The United States has spent years restricting the export of advanced semiconductors to China. NVIDIA's most powerful AI processors cannot legally be sold to Chinese companies. The logic is straightforward: advanced chips equal advanced AI, and advanced AI equals military, economic, and intelligence advantages. China has responded with a massive national push to develop its own semiconductor industry, pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into chip design and manufacturing infrastructure. But here's the strategic reality that molecular computing introduces. Chip supremacy today is built on silicon manufacturing. TSMC in Taiwan, Samsung in South Korea, a handful of fabs in the United States. These are the choke points of the global AI race, and controlling them, or threatening them, is the central tension in US-China technology competition. Molecular computing could redraw that map entirely. If the next generation of AI hardware is built not from nanometer-scale silicon etchings that require $50 billion fabs and exotic lithography machines, but from molecular arrays that can potentially be synthesized using chemistry, the entire competitive landscape shifts. Chemistry scales differently than photolithography. The barriers to entry are different. The supply chains are different. The geographies of advantage are different. A nation that cracks molecular computing at scale doesn't just gain an AI advantage. It potentially escapes the chokehold that semiconductor geography has placed on the AI race. That is why research into molecular electronics, neuromorphic computing, and post-silicon architectures is no longer just an academic pursuit. It is an active area of national security interest in the United States, China, the European Union, and several other nations quietly pouring funding into what they believe may be the next platform shift in computing. The country that moves from laboratory demonstration to manufacturable, scalable molecular hardware first will not just have better AI. They will hold a structural advantage in the defining technology competition of the 21st century. And unlike the semiconductor race, where the United States and its allies hold clear leads in fabrication, the molecular computing race is still wide open. The starting gun has fired. And almost nobody is watching. For more than half a century, silicon built our world. The internet, smartphones, artificial intelligence. All of it ran on billions of tiny switches carved from the same material. But physics has limits, and we are approaching them. What researchers demonstrated in 2026 is not just a new component. It is a new paradigm, hardware that processes, remembers, and learns simultaneously, using materials that behave more like a living neural system than a traditional computer. The path from laboratory to global scale will not be simple, but the direction is unmistakable. The next revolution in computing will not come from making silicon transistors smaller. It will come from replacing the transistor entirely with something that fits inside a molecule. If this changed how you think about AI, computing, or the technology race reshaping global power, subscribe. We cover breakthroughs like this every week, before they hit the mainstream. Drop a comment. Do you think the West or China wins the molecular computing race? And share this with one person who thinks AI is just about software. Because the next war is being fought in hardware, at the molecular level.